Why would the Nigerian think about leaving Africa's biggest economy? Why would anyone leave Lagos or Accra or Nairobi and go start a new life in one of the poorest countries on earth? That is a question everyone is asking about Burkina Faso right now. This is not a rich country. This is not a safe country. Or something strange is happening. Across Nigeria, across Accra, across the whole of Africa, people are talking about this small landlocked nation like it is in the future. They are watching one man, Ibrahim Traoré, a young soldier who took power in a coup and somehow turned a poor country into a symbol of pride, a symbol of resistance, a symbol of what Africa could become if African leaders could actually put Africa first. So today, we are going to look past the noise. We are going to look past the hype videos and the emotional speeches and the online praise. We are going to ask one real question. Is Burkina Faso actually rising? Are Africans really losing there? And if they are, why? Stay with me because by the end of this video, you will understand something most people online are getting wrong. Before 2022, most Nigerians barely thought about Burkina Faso. If they knew anything at all, it was one name, Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary president who was killed decades ago. Beyond that, silence. Burkina Faso was just a name on the map. A poor landlocked country in West Africa, sitting between Mali and Ghana, with almost no coastline, almost no oil, almost no attention from the outside world. For years, the story of Burkina Faso was a story of hardship, farming that depends only on rain, low income, weak infrastructure, and on top of that, war. Armed extremist groups spread across large parts of the country. Millions of people were pushed out of their homes. Some crossed into neighboring countries just to survive. This is the Burkina Faso that most of the world forgot. A country fighting for its own life with very little to show the world. So how did this same country suddenly become the topic of conversation in Lagos, in Accra, and even as far as the Caribbean? One man changed that. In September 2022, a young army captain named Ibrahim Traoré took power. He was only in his mid-30s, young enough to be someone's older brother. But instead of quietly running the country, Traoré started speaking a language that most African leaders are too afraid to speak. He talked about taking back control of natural resources. He talked about growing food at home instead of importing it. He talked about African dignity and standing up to foreign powers who have profited from Africa for generations. Too many young Africans, tired of watching their own governments serve foreign interests, this message hit like electricity. Here was a leader saying out loud the things they have been thinking quietly for years. Traoré's popularity did not stay inside Burkina Faso. It spread to Nigeria, it spread to Ghana, it spread to Kenya, South Africa, and even to the black communities across the ocean in the Caribbean and beyond. He became more than a president. He became a pan-African symbol. But here is something we must be honest about. Not everything driving his popularity is based on solid facts. Some of it comes from real policy. Some of it comes from emotional videos online, some of which are exaggerated and some of which are simply not true. So in this video, we are going to separate the two. We are going to separate what Traoré's government has actually done from what people online wish it were through. Because if we want to understand Burkina Faso correctly, we cannot mix hope with facts. Let's talk about the economy, because numbers do not lie. In 2023, Burkina Faso's economy grew about 3%. By 2024, that growth had jumped into almost 5%. And for 2025, both the World Bank and the IMF expected growth of around 5.3%. That is real, measurable growth. Not promises, not slogans, actual growth confirmed by international institutions. What is driving it? High gold prices, reforms in the mining sector, more local gold production, stronger exports. And there is something that touches every single household in the country: falling prices for food and energy. In 2024, inflation in Burkina Faso was around 4.2%. By 2025, it had actually dropped below zero. Think about what that means for an ordinary family. Food prices did not just slow down, they came down. At the same time, the country's trade position improved. In 2024, Burkina Faso was spending more money abroad than it was earning. By 2025, it had flipped into a surplus, more money coming in than going out. Now, these are not numbers that makes Burkina Faso richer than Nigeria. Nigeria's economy is still much bigger and much more diverse, but that is exactly the point. The attraction is not that Burkina Faso has become wealthier than Nigeria. The attraction is the direction. Many Nigerians look at their own country: high food prices, a falling currency, expensive fuel, constant power cuts, and then they look at Burkina Faso's numbers moving the opposite way, and they start to ask themselves a question: what if a poorer country with less resources is actually being managed with purpose? If there is one thing driving Burkina Faso's story, it is food. Agriculture is the backbone of this country. It employs a huge share of the population, and for generations, farming has depended almost entirely on rainfall. When the rain is good, people eat, and when the rain fails, people suffer. Traore's government made a clear decision. Instead of relying on imported food, they wanted farmers to grow more and grow it better. So the government began sending out tractors, proper tillers, irrigation pumps, fertilizers, improved seeds, harvesting machines, equipment for raising livestock, and equipment for fish farming. The message behind all of this is simple and honestly quite powerful. Why should a country with fertile land and millions of farmers still depend on food shipped in from outside? This shift is not just about feeding people, it is opening doors. When a country pushes agriculture this hard, new business opportunities appear: machinery repair, fertilizer supply, seed distribution, cold storage, transport and logistics, food packaging and processing, poultry feed, animal medicine. And here is something worth noting: Nigerian and Ghanaian entrepreneurs already have deep experience in almost every one of these areas, which means for a business-minded Nigerian watching from home, Burkina Faso does not just look like a poor country trying to survive, it starts to look like an early opportunity. Now, let's talk about gold, because this is where Traore's government has made some of its boldest moves. Gold is one of Burkina Faso's biggest sources of foreign income. For years, much of that gold wealth left the country, benefiting foreign mining companies far more than ordinary citizens. Traore's government decided to change that balance. In June 2025, Burkina Faso completed something significant. They transferred 5 major mining assets into a state-owned company. In other words, the government took direct control. And they didn't stop there. Officials announced plans to take even greater control of other industrial mines, build local mining expertise, strengthen national supply chains, and keep more gold moving through state institutions instead of straight out of the country. The argument behind this is simple to understand. Gold should not just leave Burkina Faso and enrich people somewhere else. A bigger share of that wealth should stay home, funding roads, farming, security, and industry. This move could open up real opportunities: mining services, equipment supply, transport, construction, catering, geological work, gold processing. But we have to be fair and balanced here. Nationalizing industries like this is not without risk. When a government suddenly takes control of private assets, some investors get nervous. Contracts can feel less secure. Foreign expertise can pull back. So while this move is popular, and understandably so, it also creates real uncertainty for anyone thinking about long-term investment. One of the most visible symbols of Traore's government is a program called Faso Mebo. It focuses on something very basic but incredibly important: roads and drainage. In March 2025, the government rolled out hundreds of heavy machines and vehicles for public infrastructure projects. This program later became a full government agency. Now, why does this matter so much? Because roads touch everything. When roads improve, farmers can get their goods to market faster. Traders lose less time and less money in transport delays. Construction activity increases. Land becomes more valuable. Cities start to feel more alive. And for a landlocked country like Burkina Faso, with no direct access to the ocean, good roads are not a luxury, they are survival. Every export, every import has to travel through neighboring coastal countries to reach the sea. Alongside roads, Traore's government has also been pushing local industry instead of exporting raw materials and buying them back as finished products. The goal is to process things at home. Cotton can become textiles, tomatoes can become packaged food, shea nuts can become cosmetics, crops can become flour, animal feed and drinks, and gold can be refined right there inside the country. Wagadovo and Bobo de Lasso already have some industrial base, but much of the economy is still informal, still small scale, and that gap is exactly where the new opportunity lives. Restaurants, digital payment services, packaging, construction materials, solar power installation, logistics, hospitality, and media production. Now, we have to arrive at the real question of this video. Why are Africans, especially Nigerians, actually paying attention to Burkina Faso? Ouagadougou, the capital, may offer lower costs than Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi, or Johannesburg. Lower rents, lower labor costs, less competition in certain specialized services. But let's be honest, this is not an easy market. Burkina Faso still struggles with electricity shortages, limited access to financing, a large informal economy, weak infrastructure outside the big cities, language barriers for English speakers, and real security risk. So this opportunity is real, but it is not simple, and that is not risk-free. So entrepreneurs are exploring digital marketing, food delivery, Nigerian restaurants, film and music production, financial technology, training centers, poultry farming, real estate, solar services, cosmetics, clothing, and building materials. A business built in Burkina Faso could even reach into Mali and Niger, although security and custom rules would need serious attentions. But money is not the only reason people are watching. There is something deeper happening too. Some Africans are drawn to Burkina Faso for reasons that have nothing to do with profit. Traore has created a feeling of nation, of urgency, of African dignity, of resistance against foreign control. People do not always move towards the highest salary. Sometimes, people move towards a place that feels like it is going somewhere. A place where they believe their skills will matter. A place where they can be part of something historic right from the beginning. That emotional pull is turning into real activity. Tourism, conference, business trips, diaspora visits, and cultural exchange. And Burkina Faso's importance goes beyond its own borders. It connects Mali to Niger, to trade routes through Ghana, Togo, Benin, and Cote d'Ivoire. Along with Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso helped form the Alliance of Sahel States, a new partnership between the three countries. In January 2025, all three officially left ECOWAS, the regional bloc most West African nations belong to. If this new alliance succeeds in deepening cooperation on trade, transport, energy, and security, Burkina Faso could become one of the most important commercial centers in the entire Sahel region. Now, we have to slow down and talk honestly, because if this video only told you the good news, it will not be telling you the truth. Burkina Faso is still fighting a brutal security crisis. Armed extremist groups remain active across large areas of the country. Millions of people have been displaced from their homes. Many have fled into neighboring countries just to stay alive. Ouagadougou and parts of Obo-Dioulasso may feel more stable than the countryside. But security still remains the single greatest threat to everything we have talked about in this video. Investment, agriculture, transport, tourism, mining, government income, and this simple idea of families settling down and building a future. There is political uncertainty too. Traore came to power through a military coup, not an election. The promised transition to civilian elected government has been pushed back again and again. There have also been credible reports of censorship, pressure on journalists, arrest of government critics, and forced military mobilization of citizens. These are serious concerns, and they matter even to the people who admire what Traore is trying to build economically. On top of all this, greater government control over industries like mining can bring more money home, but sudden policy changes can also scare away the capital and technical skills a country needs to grow. Add in ongoing electricity shortages, widespread poverty, a large informal economy, and language barriers for non-French speakers, and you start to see a full picture. Burkina Faso is not a finished success story. It is a country in the midst of a very difficult, risky experiment. So what can we honestly say is true, and what is simply hope dressed up as a fact? Here is what is strongly supported by real evidence. Economic growth genuinely improves after 2023. Agriculture played a major role in that recovery. Inflation fell. Gold reforms increased the state's share of mining wealth. Infrastructure projects and local production programs are visibly happening. Traore has generated real continental attention, and Burkina Faso already hosts a large population of migrants from the region because West African migration has always been common between neighboring countries. And now, here is what is plausible, but still needs more proof. When Nigerian entrepreneurs may be exploring the country, some Pan-African supporters may be considering relocation. Lower costs may be pulling in small foreign businesses, and now the Sahel Alliance may be encouraging fresh movements towards Ouagadougou. But here is what is simply not proven, no matter how many videos online claim it. There is no solid evidence that Nigerians are relocating to Burkina Faso in massive numbers. Burkina Faso is not currently a leading destination for African professionals. If economy is not stronger than Nigeria's or Ghana's, and there is no proof that most Nigerians in the country moved there specifically because of Traore's policies. This matters because separating facts from hope is actually what regionalism is supposed to do. Now, up to this point, we have focused a lot on Nigeria, but Nigerians are not the only ones watching Burkina Faso. Take Ghana. Ghana shares a border with Burkina Faso, and 4 other countries already have long-established trade routes between them. Ghanaian traders, transporters, and even teachers may find real opportunity in logistics, agriculture, hospitality, and English language services. Then there is Mali and Niger. These 2 countries are Burkina Faso's closest partners in the new Alliance of Sahel States. Malians and Nigerians may move for reasons beyond businesses, shared families, network, cross-border trade, education, and a sense of joining the same political project. Traders from Togo, Benin, and Cote d'Ivoire have their own reasons too. Transport, warehousing, postal trade, and in many cases, family ties that go back generations long before modern borders even existed. Now, what about Africans further away? In East Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa, for them, the connection is different. It usually does not start with someone packing a suitcase and moving permanently. It starts smaller. Tourism, political solidarity, conferences, business scouting trips, journalists and content creators visiting to see the story for themselves. Over time, so that curiosity could turn into deeper investment or even long-term relocation. But right now, for most of the continent, Burkina Faso is still in the phase of catching people's attention, not yet the phase of mass movements. And understanding that difference is the key to understanding this entire story. So let's bring this all together. Under Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso has not become Africa's richest country. It has not become Africa's safest country either, but it has become something else. It has become one of the most closely watched experiments happening anywhere on the continent. Stronger growth, falling inflation, and a push towards growing its own food. Good reforms that gives more wealth at home, visible roads, visible machines, and visible efforts. These things are giving Africans something they rarely get to see. Proof that a poor country can try to reorganize itself around production, ownership, and self-belief. That does not mean the experiment will succeed. Burkina Faso remains poor. It remains landlocked. It remains short on electricity, and it remains locked in dangerous fights against armed extremist groups. So no, Africans are not rushing towards Burkina Faso because it has already arrived at some golden destination. They are watching because they believe this country has finally chosen a direction and is moving with real purpose. And in a continent where so many governments feel stuck, that alone is enough to capture people's attention. Whether Burkina Faso becomes a true success story or a warning of how hard this path can be, the world is about to find out, and Africa is watching every step. And if this video opened your eyes to what is really happening in Burkina Faso, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We break down the truth about Africa's biggest story without the hype and without the propaganda. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about Burkina Faso's future. Do you think Burkina Faso is the future of African independence, or is it too early to say? We will see you in the next one. My name is Blessing Chris. Stay right here on AfriArise.